No matter how good a producer you are, it goes without saying that you have to look after the bottom line if you're to stay in business. But how do you navigate your way safely through unpredictable market and seasonal conditions? Alexandra de Blas visited Western Victoria on a day which offered all kinds of weather to see a group of producers who are using some fancy financial footwork to chart their way to success.
Late August and the cattle on this property in Western Victoria are halfway through calving. It wasn't always this way. Just 3 years ago, Andrew Kane decided to shift his usual autumn calving date to later in the year. In hindsight, it was a smart move.
The reason I changed the calving date was to run more cows and to be more profitable. It fits more with the growing season, so I utilise more of the pasture. It fits in better with our pasture growth curve.
Andrew needed to be able to operate single-handedly after dividing the family business in two with his brother in 2005. Now his beef enterprise consists of 400 breeding cows and 300 weaners, and he takes another 400 head on agistment. He also runs a prime lamb operation across his 900 hectares with a mob of over 2,000 crossbred ewes.
The production per hectare has increased greatly, but the production per head has remained the same, if slightly lower. So I'm turning off more animals at a slightly lower weight, but per hectare it adds up to more kilos of beef produced.
But these changes weren't made on a whim. They were the result of a strategic analysis of the whole business. With the help of management consultant Sandy McEachran, Andrew compared his performance with the most successful enterprises. And what were they all doing that he wasn't? Calving later in the year. What Andrew Kane has achieved on his property is something of a business manager's holy grail. By benchmarking his business against other producers, he was able to see new opportunities in his farming enterprise. By shifting his calving date, he was able to increase production while decreasing costs, and as a result, his profitability has grown.
Tax books. So when you come to sell
To set up a benchmarking system requires a significant initial effort. You need to record all your costs, labour hours, kilos produced per hectare and income for each of your enterprises. Then you can compare your performance against a database of other producers. The more years you do it, the better picture you get, because a single season's figures can easily be distorted by extreme prices or conditions. Now the system is established, Andrew only needs to put in a few hours a month, and it reveals what's really going on below the surface of his business.
Often benchmarking tells you things that market prices can't tell you. So market prices tell you what's hot in the market at the time, but it actually doesn't tell you what the margin is, how much it costs you to get that product to the market. And that's what benchmarking is about. It's about saying, well, what does it cost me to get it there, and therefore what's my margin? And why is my margin different to someone else's? Is it because my stock aren't as heavy when I sell them? Is it because I don't wean as many lambs from the ewes I join? You can look at those specific issues and find out exactly why your margins might be as good as someone else's. And that leaves you with opportunities to do something about it.
Currently, only 1 in 100 producers uses benchmarking. This working group is meeting at Andrew's property. 3 times a year they get together to swap ideas about how to improve their businesses. And they're convinced it's worth the effort.
What the benchmarking database has allowed us to do has been identify where our weaknesses are and where other people's strengths are, so that we can copy those other people. You don't have to reinvent the wheel.
It also allows you to compare the relative merits of different enterprises within your business, so you can choose whether it's more profitable to specialise or diversify.
We started off with 7 enterprises, and using the figures that we've gathered from Holmes and Sackett, we've now ended up with 2 enterprises, and it's become a lot more efficient.
Benchmarking reveals the huge variation within enterprises. For example, the top 20% of dual-purpose producers make 4 times more than the average, and prime lamb producers make 10 times more. Often differences within enterprises are greater than the differences between them. For example, as a whole industry, prime lamb is currently more profitable than beef. But last year, top beef producers made 10 times more profit than the average prime lamb producer. For Sandy, benchmarking is a way to manage risk and cope with the vagaries of climate and markets.
And so we need a strategy to make the most of the really good years, because they will generate 2/3 of our profits in a decade. And there are only going to be 1 or 2 of them in a decade. So we need a strategy to make the most of those years. And then we need good tactical decision making to weave our way through the bad years in between.
And for producers like Andrew, it's allowed him to look to the future.
Benchmarking, I think, has given me a lot more confidence in my business management skills. I feel as though I'm much more in control of the business and where the business is heading. I see farming more now as a business as opposed to an occupation, and as a commodity price taker, I feel as though I've got much more confidence to enjoy my future in agriculture long term.